Our suburbs north of Dallas get all the positive press and hype. People are swarming there like bees to honey. However, there's another part of our metroplex where it is open season for opportunity, and it may not be where you think. Are you ready? But there's another side of our metroplex where people are stampeding toward opportunity, and that is the suburbs northwest of Fort Worth. These sleeper cells have activated. The Fort Worth side of our metroplex is exploding. And you know what? I really don't care where you choose to live, the city, community, or suburb, but what is important to me, that where you live supports your life and your lifestyle. People are trading in that 3% interest rate for a higher rate just to experience a new community. In this video, we're going to cover 6 booming secret suburbs you need to know about. Okay, the secret is out. Let's take a look at where and why people are making their moves. And we're going to jump right in with the city of Aledo. Before we head over to Aledo, let me paint a picture of what it's like going west of Fort Worth. It is as though you're in a car driving into a portal into a new dimension. Okay, conspiracy theorists, you're welcome. Where you're going to feel as though you're in the Texas Hill Country. Lush, green, trees, elevation, topography, simply beautiful. And when you're west of Fort Worth and people say, hey, take a breath of fresh air it is. You are now away from the hustle, the bustle, the density that you will definitely have in the Dallas section of our DFW Metroplex, and far less than you would even in the city of Fort Worth. So here is who's moving west of Fort Worth. If you are in Aledo, you are between Fort Worth and the city of Weatherford. Aledo and that part of our DFW Metroplex is very attractive to people who work in those areas, or maybe you're in the hospital district, you are part of the Navy base that's there in Fort Worth, you are a professor at TCU, Lockheed Martin, a number of major hitters, heavy hitters, employ people in and around that area. Another attraction about this area is, like I said, it's just less dense. People choose at the end of a day, long, busy day where you deal with chaos from employers, employees, whoever, to just come home to peace and quiet. And that's exactly what people are doing. In fact, the population of Aledo has really grown. And let me put this in perspective for you. In 2020, the population of Aledo was 2,517. Now, what they're projecting census in 2025, now those aren't complete yet because we're only halfway through 25, but the projection is that there'll be more than 7,000 people who will call Aledo home. Well, that's a lot of growth. In fact, that gives you an annual growth rate of more than 23%. Another thing that kind of shows you that people are growing into Aledo is that the University of Texas at Arlington is opening a campus in Aledo, UTA West. And remember, universities, they're big business. They're not running a charity. They realize that there are enough people in and around Aledo that will pull in enough students, revenue to make that a profitable university. Now, with all of these people coming to Aledo, they've got to live somewhere, and they live in houses. Let's take a look at the housing market. But before I do, I know some of you are so excited when we talk about your math and charts and graphs. And other of you, your eyes are starting to glaze over just a little bit. You're more of a visual learner. Well, I'm going to help you visualize why now is such a great opportunity to live in some of these suburbs west of Fort Worth. And I'm going to show you what's going on in Aledo, Texas. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I've grabbed data from our local MLS from Netris, and I'm only focused on new construction homes that have sold. I am not including pre-owned homes because there are a plethora, tons of homes that have actually sold between 2020 and 2024. So I just want to set that straight. So you're thinking, wow, they only had that few of homes sold in the area. No, not the case. But I want to share with you so you can see the actual appreciation. So with that said, let's take a look at the numbers. In 2020, there were 181 homes sold new construction. And you can see in 2024, 126. Now you may be thinking to yourself, wait, that number has dropped off. In 2024, we saw almost a surge of new construction. So many homes were under contract in 2024, but they may not close until 2025. So we don't have that full data quite yet. We only have a first, half of the year. What I want you to see is the appreciation. 2020, we have the medium home price at $389, whereas in 2024, $571,000. So when you take out your calculator and you do your steps and your math and show your work, you will see that between 2020 and 2024, home values appreciated nearly 47%, with an annual appreciation rate over the past 5 years of nearly 8%. Now, how is that for math? Oh, by the way, I can't believe I forgot to mention this because this is really important. And this is the quality of education students will receive from Aledo. Aledo is an award-winning, highly competitive school district, both on the field and in the classroom. So you can't go wrong sending your child to Aledo schools. And even if you don't have children, school-age children, your home value is very important because it is directly connected to the quality and the strength of the public schools. Living in Aledo gives you a lot of diversity when it comes to the type of home, type of community. If you want a premier planned community with a lot of activities, well, they've got you covered. Maybe you want something that's gated, a little bit more secluded. You want acreage, or you want maybe a more manageable lot size. They have almost anything you want within reason in the city of Aledo. And here are just a few, because there's so many, I might forget one or two, but here are some of the examples of the newer communities there in Aledo. Walsh Ranch, Aledo Heights, Kelly Ranch, Riab Vista at Kelly Ranch, which is just opening, and Parks of Aledo. The other beautiful area west of Fort Worth is a little closer to Fort Worth, about 11 miles away. And this would be the city of Benbrook. Now this part's gonna be a little tricky and I wanna explain something to you. The city of Benbrook is very, very small. So when I give the population growth, it's not gonna necessarily include Fort Worth, that section that actually their students go to Benbrook. So it's gonna feel a little skewed, but you'll still see growth. Now, here's the thing. You're asking yourself within Tracy, if people live in Fort Worth, why don't they go to Fort Worth School? What you'll notice in the Metroplex is you can live in one city and your student be zoned in a total different school district. So you may want to do your homework ahead of time. But these sections of Fort Worth plus Benbrook is what I'm really focused on for the demonstration of growth in our housing market. And Benbrook, if you love to golf, then you're gonna love living here. There are 3 great golf courses in or near Benbrook. You have Whitestone, which is a public golf course, and you have 2 private golf courses, Blue Jack Ranch and Maverick Golf and Ranch Club. They are just breaking ground. But here's the scoop on that area. Some of those lots, just the lots, are priced and are selling for around $2 million. So can you imagine the price of the home? And can you imagine if you live in one of those neighboring communities? Ka-ching, more money in the bank for you. Now let's talk about the population of Benbrook. Remember, Benbrook is rather small, so as far as population alone, we're looking at a little over 23,000 people, and in 2024, around 25,000. The annual growth rate of the community, 1.37%. Now that number is going to feel, and it is, a lot smaller than the other suburbs we're going to take a look at. But that's because I only looked at the city of Benbrook and I did not include parts of Fort Worth. So if I were to include those parts of Fort Worth that go into Benbrook, that number would be probably 3-4 times higher. Now these people who are moving to Benbrook, they're moving somewhere and they're moving to some beautiful homes. Bella Flora, nice gated community. Brookside, Ventana, one of the newest communities over there in Benbrook, and Whitestone Crest. And these are just a few. I might not have gotten every single community. So if you moved into a new community in Benbrook, just comment and let us know where you are and what you love about your area. Looking at the people who call Benbrook and the surrounding area home, you have in 2020, 188 new construction homes sold. In 2024, 145. So we know that new construction, they just hit the ground running hard in 2024, but they may not close until 2025. So that number could be a little off. But what's not off is the appreciation rate. Let's look at the median home price of $325,000 in 2020, and just 4 years later, the median home price is nearly $500,000. So once you do the math and the calculation, the total percentage appreciation is nearly 54%, which gives you an annual appreciation rate of almost 9%. And with that level of appreciation, even to visual people, that math makes a lot of sense. Now, let's take a pause for our station identification. Hi, I'm Tracy Sorrell with the DFW Life, and I help people just like you sell and buy homes in and around our Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I realize you can find out quite a bit online: bedrooms, baths, square feet, price. But what you may not be able to discover is how people really live their lives in our different communities, cities, and suburbs. Well, that's where I come in. I hop in the car and I drive around so you can have the bird's eye view, VIP access of how people really live their lives. And if you like to be in the know, then you're going to want to subscribe below, press the bell. You'll be notified anytime anything goes down around town. And don't forget, give us a thumbs up. Now back to the video. Now that you've got an appreciation of why people are moving to these areas, let's take a look at what people do in and around Benbrook and Aledo. Aledo and Benbrook are only about 13 miles apart, and Benbrook, as you can see on the map, is closer to Fort Worth. It's only 11 miles away from downtown Fort Worth, and Fort Worth is where we celebrate our Western heritage. And there is so much you can do in Fort Worth. There's no way I can cover it all, but just to give you some highlights, we've got museums, great dining, we've got the stockyards, 7th Street, the Trinity River part of Fort Worth. You can actually enjoy being on the water, food trucks, miles of trails and paths to explore. Now, coming away from Fort Worth, you're going to be able to enjoy some lakes. And in fact, you see 3 on this map. You have Benbrook Lake, which is, right there in Benbrook. And going north a few miles is Lake Worth. And if you go a little bit more west, you will hit Eagle Mountain Lake. And if you live in Aledo, you're going to go explore Weatherford. Weatherford is a peach capital of Texas, and Weatherford is only about 15 miles from Aledo. And while you're in Weatherford, if you want to enjoy the lake, there is Lake Weatherford right there. Moving north of Fort Worth are 2 really significant areas, North Lake and Argyle. And I won't say that they've hit their peak, but they have been growing for quite some time, for a few years. In fact, I've covered a few videos about their different communities, new construction communities versus the mature areas where you can get acres and horses. So in North Lake, we took a look at Harvest and Pecan Square, and we did some more homes, estates that on acreage over there. We also took a look at Argyle, and we focused on Canyon Falls as one of the many premier planned communities there are there. But in North Lake and Argyle, you have I-35, which separates these 2 cities. And I-35 is a major thoroughfare that would get you anywhere you want to go or need to be in our DFW Metroplex. Argyle, since you've been doing your homework and you've watched a couple of videos, you know that Argyle Independent School District is award-winning school district for public school. You're going to be hard-pressed to get a better system for your students. In North Lake, just on the other side, well, they're in a close running. Those students attend Northwest Independent School District, which is another well-respected school district in our area. These 2 communities are very close to Denton. They're only 13 miles away from Denton. So if you live there or near there, you're closer to Denton than you are to Fort Worth. Fort Worth is about 35 miles away. You can see on this map, if you are living in North Lake or Argyle, you've got some lakes around you. You have Grapevine Lake, Louisville Lake, and on the other side of Denton, you have Ray Roberts Lake and State Park. So there are plenty of things to do, and there's some green in this area, but I would not say that this is the same level of lush green that you will see west of Fort Worth, the Aledo area or the Benbrook area. I would describe North Lake, Argyle, and some of the communities we're going to visit northwest of Fort Worth as being a little bit more flat, but it's still, oh my gosh, they're all so peaceful, serene, with a little level of seclusion, which is what you want if you're moving to our suburbs. Now let's look at the population growth of North Lake. North Lake in 2020 had about 5,000 people who call North Lake home. And in 2025, they're projecting to have almost 15,000 people who live in North Lake. And the population growth from 2020 to 2025, that's almost 178%. And annual population growth over the past 5 years, nearly 23%. Now, how is that for explosive? Now, let's talk about where people are going to live. I mentioned some of the communities in North Lake. Well, here is how they are finding great wealth and appreciation just by living there in the past 5 years. In 2020, the median home price was $350,000. In 2024, $620,000, which gives a total percentage growth of almost 77%. Now, how is that for money in the bank? Well, speaking of money in the bank, let's take a look at Argyle. Argyle's population growth in 2020 was about 4,400. In 2025, they're projecting to be nearly 7,000. So Argyle didn't just blow up as much as North Lake because Argyle is actually a little smaller than North Lake. So just to put things in perspective, they experienced an annual growth rate of 9% with a population growth of over 54%. Now let's talk about home prices, how they've grown in Argyle. In 2020, home prices sold new construction. Prices were around $471,000. And in 2024, look at that jump, $545,000 medium price range, which gives you a total percentage growth of almost 16%. Now that's what I'll call gaining wealth through real estate. People like Justin because it's far enough away from Fort Worth, even from Flower Mound, which is a neighboring city, and some of our other areas where you want to feel that country living, but not isolated living. So Justin is a huge pull for that. And there's so many great new communities in Justin, and the communities that aren't new, if you have acreage where you're absolutely gonna have your horses out there, people have barns out there, people have farms, ranches. It's a really nice place to live. If you ever have a game of trivia and you need the answer, well, here you go. The first answer would be, yes, indeed, there is a town called Dish, Texas, named after Dish Network. And the second question, the answer, Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde were known for maybe making a visit to Ponder, Texas, and taking out a withdrawal from their bank. Moving closer to Fort Worth from Justin is the city of Hazlet. And Hazlet, people have really flocked to Hazlet when they've decided that Keller, South Lake, some of our other large suburbs have really gotten, well, no longer affordable. You're hard pressed to get brand new construction in some of our areas without paying a premium for the home because, we can't get new land and land is expensive. But here's the beauty why people like Hazlet. Hazlet is almost insulated by some really nice modes of transportation. You have I-35 West. Remember, that takes you almost anywhere you need to go. I-35 West connects to 287. And then 287 to 114. So if you're in Hazlet, you're just a short drive to almost everywhere. Here are the things that are pulling people to Hazlet. Hazlet is so close to Westlake, Texas. And Westlake is our financial hub in this particular part of our DFW Metroplex. You have Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Deloitte, and there's so many others. I can't go down the list. But Westlake is a real attraction to so many people in Hazlet, and so many people work in and around that Hazlet, Justin area. Another thing about Hazlet is home to one of our largest intermodal hubs. We've got Amazon over there, FedEx, UPS, BNSF, and so many trucking companies over there. And with Hazlet, you may have a little bonus when it comes to living the lake life, because Hazlet is only a short drive to Eagle Mountain Lake. But we're in Texas, and people of Texas have cars. So whether you're closer to Eagle Mountain Lake, Lake Grapevine, Louisville, or Ray Roberts, you will hop in your car and just drive wherever you want to go. Whether you want to make a trip to Fort Worth or you decide to go about 40 miles to Dallas, then gas up the car and off you go. Now let's talk about the growth in Hazlet, Texas. In 2020, 2,336 people called Hazlet, Texas home, and the projected amount of people who are going to move there by the end of 2025, we're looking at almost 5,100 people. Now, population growth, that was an explosion. We're looking at about 118% of growth between 2020 and what's projected for 2025. And the annual growth rate, nearly 17% over 5 years. Now, these people have to live somewhere, and they're living in some nice places. Let's talk about how people of Hazlet are gaining wealth just by living there. Now, some people will say the community of Madera is actually in Fort Worth. However, the students of Hazlet and Madera attend Northwest ISD. Looking at home growth in Hazlet in 2020, the median sale price was around $347,000. In 2024, look at that jump, around $400,000, which gives us an appreciation in home value from 2020 to 2024, nearly 31%. Justin, Texas is really close to Hazlet. So people usually try to decide, do I want to live in Hazlet or do I want to live in Justin? And Justin would feel a little bit more remote than Hazlet, Texas, because remember, Hazlet has all of those freeways. It's really close to Alliance Town Center with a lot of shopping, and people just go to a short drive to South Lake and other places to dine and shop. Well, Justin isn't that far from Hazlet, so you have the same perks and privileges. Justin has a really cute downtown where you can, well, I wouldn't call this really like a downtown, so I just don't want you to get excited and think you're like downtown Fort Worth. Let's just say they have a few streets where you can go and you can walk and you can eat, you can shop, and you can enjoy. It's very quaint, and you're going to really enjoy doing that. But you're going to hop in your car and, go to the bigger cities to really get some things done. But let's talk about the population growth just in Texas. In 2020, there were nearly 5,000 people who called Justin home, and what they are projecting in 2025, census have not come out yet, almost 6,800 people will live in Justin, Texas, which gives you an annual growth rate of 7.14%. And you may be asking yourself, where are these people living? Well, I'm glad you asked. People are buying new homes. Remember, for the sake of this video, we're really focusing on new construction homes and pull that data. They're looking at Treeline. And Treeline, I've done a video on Treeline. This is where it's going to be nature meets technology. Brand new, in fact, the newest home community in Justin. And then you have a more quaint and intimate community. It's much smaller than Treeline and some of the others, and that's the Preserve. And it's a beautiful community. You have Timberbrook, very near the other two communities. And in Timberbrook, they're going to have Ladera, which is a 55 plus community. So if you want, well, maybe an aging family member or parent to be near you, but not live with you, you might want to check out Timberbrook. And then lastly, we have Wildflower Ranch. Now, Wildflower Ranch is a wild card because part of it is in Tarrant County and part of it is in Denton County. And this probably means very little or nothing to you, but some people call parts of Wildflower Ranch Fort Worth. But for the practical purpose for us locals, we consider Wildflower Ranch community as Justin. So since we have a lot of growth, a lot of dirt moving, people are moving into Justin, let's talk about the appreciation that people have experienced if they've lived there from 2020. In 2020, you could get a nice home for $355,000. And then in 2024, the median home price, $376,000. Now, according to this math and calculation, people who lived in Justin from 2020 to 2024, they experienced appreciation of nearly 6%. Now, the math is the math, the number is the number, but I'm going to tell you, you are hard pressed to find a lot of homes in Justin, Texas in the 350 or the 370. They're going to cost a lot more. Why? Because of the appreciation, the demand. People want to live there. They want to be in Justin, Texas. So I know what the data says, but I'm just telling you that those homes, you can get some under $400,000. You can get a few, not many, but most of them are going to be north of $500,000. And as you can see on our chart, you've got north of $1 million properties easily because you can get acreage in Justin. Hi, I'm Tracy Sorrell with the DFW Life, and I help people just like you sell and buy homes in and around our DFW Metroplex. And hopefully in this video, the goal of this video is not to create a tourism video for you, because I'm not going to be able to tell you everything, every community, every suburbs. But my goal was to hit the highlights, hit the high points, hit the high communities so that you can catch and ride the wave like so many other people have, and they are experiencing financial appreciation and equity, wealth, just by living in these communities. And now you know there's a whole lot more life to be lived that's on the Fort Worth side of the Metroplex, not just the Dallas side. And if now you've got a greater appreciation for what you have seen and you're thinking to yourself, maybe I should reconsider some of these areas while I'm relocating and deciding where I want to live, then comment below, grab one of those 101 consultation links so together we can better realize and discover which one of these cities, communities, and suburbs would be the best place for you to create your new memories and call home.